This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumber yard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumber yard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio, we have not just Tom this weekend. Tom is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management. We are also blessed to have the vice president of Mosley Wealth Management, Travis Hawley. Mosley Wealth Management is based right here in Southern California, and each week on this program, we are committed to providing you with retirement planning solutions. But first, let me greet you both. Tom and Travis, it's great to be here with both of you. How are you?
Doing great. Good to be here.
Kristen, I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. I know you've had a chance to be on the television show a few times, and now we're thrilled to have you be a part of the radio show as well.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about how, I know you've been with the company for 9 years, but talk a little bit about how this relationship came to be.
Well, I married his mother. That's how it came to be. All right. He's my stepson, and he was one years old at that time. And I've seen him grow up, coached him in Little League, football, soccer, basketball, everything in the world. And generally, he listened to me. Sometimes he didn't, like every kid out there. And when he got out of college 9 years ago, he started to work for me. It's that proverbial old started by sweeping the docks on the back of the business. And he has literally done everything in this business, marketing, new business, every single thing. And about 3 years ago, he started in the sales, and he has done a tremendous job of financial planning with our clients. And I welcome him to the show. The biggest thing about this job, because I had somebody ask me this week, how do you, select a financial planner? And I may be stepping all over one of our questions for this week. I'm not really sure when we get to segment 4, but you have to have people in this business you can trust. We let go a gentleman back in December because we suspected that he had a lack of integrity. And every single thing about what he's done since that time has proven his lack of integrity, proven all the way to the core. And so therefore, the biggest thing about this business is whether you're selecting an employee on my part to work with you who are out there, or you out there are looking for a financial planner, you got to find somebody you can trust.
Absolutely.
And there's nobody I can trust more than this gentleman across the way from me who's into his 30s now. He's not a boy anymore, but I trust this guy implicitly. He's so truthful and so honest. I love him to death, obviously.
Well, Travis, I'm so excited to get to know you better, and for our listeners to get to know you better too. I'll just start with this question. And of course, we've got a lot more to get into on today's show, but what have you loved the most about coming to work and be a part of the team of Mosley Wealth Management?
Well, what I love most, it's great working for your stepdad and your mom, that always is a good thing. But the reason I got into this industry is I always wanted to help people. And there's nothing better than when you're sitting across the table from someone and you see that breath of fresh air or that sigh of relief, knowing that their retirement plan is taken care of and that they don't have to worry about running out of money.
And no doubt you've been blessed to get to grow up seeing that firsthand with, Tom's work and your mom's work. And now I know it must be so fulfilling to get to be a part of the mission as well.
Absolutely. This has really come full circle. As Tom said, being on the baseball field as a young child and then basketball courts and now being in the business world together, it really has been a blessing.
Awesome. Well, and I know I'm going to have to ask you about some Tom stories at some point too. I'm sure our listeners would love to hear from your perspective.
I've got plenty of Travis stories too. I can
I'm
come back.
sure. I'm sure. Well, let's get right into it today. On our first segment, we're going to be talking about why your financial education should not stop once you hit retirement. I know that financial education is something all three of us are super passionate about, but there's some unique things that folks need to continue to educate themselves regarding their financial situation in and throughout retirement. So that's what we're going to go through this list. We have about 5 or 6 things. We're going to try to get through all of them here. The first one on the list today is get smart about your spending decisions. And, we've mentioned this. It's come up a lot on the show recently where we've talked about when folks don't have a solid plan for their retirement, one of two things typically happens. Either folks are unfortunately overspending, or almost as tragically are underspending because they're so afraid of running out of money. And that's what we want to help people prevent, either extreme. So let's talk about what it means to be smart about your spending decisions in retirement.
Well, you have to have a spending plan. You have to know what you need to spend. And when I say need to spend, I'm not talking about a bare bones budget, but I am talking about a spending plan that you know how much it takes each month for you to live and not survive. Because surviving is just eking by, but to give you that margin so that you can enjoy life, that's a budget. You need, and it's completely different when you walk out the door of retirement because you may be facing a decrease in income. Most people are in some ways. And you may then, instead of building that 401k and in building those savings for retirement, you begin to start having to dip into those savings. So a lot of things change. I've said before that you got a paycheck, you received a paycheck when you were working for a company, but now once you retire, you're receiving the paycheck from yourself. To your point, Kristen, is so valid every time you bring it up. People spend too much because they don't have any controls. People spend too little because they're so afraid in their 60s that they're going to run out. What do you solve that with? You solve that with a retirement blueprint that shows you where your bank money's going to be, where your income money's coming from, and where your growth money that still is in the market. Because if you're going to live 20 or 30 years, you still need growth. It doesn't all need to turn into bank CDs where you're not going to make any money and you're not going to stay up with inflation, but you need a spending plan to make those spending decisions.
Absolutely. Next up on the list, number 2, we need to have folks be smart about Social Security. We could spend an entire episode just on this fact, right?
Yes, absolutely, Kristen. I've been teaching Social Security seminars over the past couple of years, and I've had on multiple occasions people come up to me after and go, I've been to about 4 or 5 of these, and the presenter only spent about 5 minutes on Social Security. And they
Wow.
said that it was pretty black and white. All you need to do is choose an age number and then turn on your social.
Oh
But
my
in
gosh.
reality, it is much, much more complex than that. In fact, 90% of people that are on Social Security benefits are not maximizing their Social Security, which when we're looking at it, Social Security can make up about 40% of a retiree's income. So there's a lot of people leaving money on the table.
And that is so sad because it can be avoided with the right financial education. So yes, I know later in the program, we're going to be talking about some of the upcoming live events, and I'm excited for more folks to connect with you to learn more about how they can maximize their Social Security and really optimize what's best for them.
For those of you who are married out there, it's also important on Social Security that you take advantage of the breadwinner provision. The breadwinner means one of your Social Security is higher than the other. If you're married, if you're single, you've got yours. You're on your own. That's all you can do about it. You just need to take it at the optimal time. But if you're married, the decision you make on your Social Security, really crucial that you make it the right way because the surviving spouse is going to be left with the larger Social Security. Therefore, we find in working with our clients, hundreds of them every year, we find that it's very advantageous for them to allow that breadwinner to continue to grow when they can without running out of money, without running out of groceries, without running out of food. So there's a lot that goes into that, being smart and educating yourself about Social Security.
For sure. Well, next up is another big one that's hitting a lot of folks hard these days, inflation. And really, the key is to continue to educate yourself on where inflation is, but specifically what it means for you and your financial plan, right?
Yes, absolutely. Inflation is at the highest it's been in the past 40 years. And inflation is really the silent killer. I like to compare it to carbon monoxide. And what I mean by that is if you have money in the bank or in a savings account, you may not see that dollar value going down, but you actually are losing purchasing power. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have an adequate emergency fund, but I've had people that have come in that has had as high as $1.3 million sitting in a savings account since 2009. Now, they got scared of what happened from the Great Recession, but if you look at the growth that we've had in the market since '09, that 1.3 million probably only buys about half of what it can than it did then. And if
Mhm.
you notice, there used to be some pretty popular food promotions from various, food chains as far as the $5 footlong or the $6 hamburger. Well, those deals are no longer available and they're completely extinct now because the cost of food is too much. They can't offer those
Mhm.
anymore.
The
Right.
$1 Big Burger at Carl's from
Yeah,
about 10 years
it's now
ago is now
4.95.
Oh,
$5.88.
yeah.
Exactly right.
Yep.
That's Carl's Jr., just in case you want to run out and grab one. So,
Right, right. Oh gosh. Well, it's so important to plan for that, especially with the cost of living doubling at such a rapid pace now that inflation has been so high lately.
and Kristen, there's some other things. There's healthcare cost. I mean, the cost of Medicare is pretty solid, pretty stable, but there's long-term care. How do you take care of that? You need to educate yourself on that. The bigger thing sometimes is legislative changes with a $34 trillion dollar debt. We have Secure Act 1.0 that left us a lot less secure. Then we had Secure Act 2.0 that left us a lot less secure. If you're out there and you're wondering what all of these mean and what they mean to you, that's exactly what a lot of CPAs and tax accountants and financial planners are trying to find out, because they get together hurriedly, they change the tax rates, they take away things. All of those things are impacting, and you need to stay educated in retirement. It's one of the biggest things we do. What we do when we build a retirement blueprint at Mosley Wealth Management, we start with a blank piece of paper, and we look and we say, how much spending do you need to do in retirement? What's your income? We part of that is in the income area is also Social Security, and then we go through inflation, we go through your investments, we go through taxes, we go through healthcare, we go through legacy and how you're going to leave it once you're gone. And from there, we build you a retirement blueprint that addresses your needs, that addresses your situation. And we offer that free, complimentary. All you got to do is call in to the number that Kristen's going to give you and claim yours.
That number to call is 888-930-5609. And what you'll be able to do is schedule a time and meet with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management to begin the process of getting your complimentary retirement blueprint. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how the team of Mosley Wealth Management can help and serve you. More with Right on the Money with Tom Mosley and Travis Hawley right after this.
For your own no-cost retirement blueprint, call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Which will you spend more money on in retirement, food or healthcare? Do you take your investments out of the stock market now that you're retired? How do you know if you've saved enough to stay retired? Will your Social Security check be reduced in the future? At Mosley Wealth Management, Tom Mosley and the team take the guessing out of retirement planning by devising a written plan that accounts for all of your concerns. The bigger question, are you going to be okay in retirement? Find out the answers to your retirement questions by calling Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. Income, investments, Social Security, Medicare, longevity, health care. We cover these solutions and all of those other questions on your mind to answer, are you going to be okay in retirement? Call Tom Mosley and Mosley Wealth Management for your own complimentary retirement review, 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley and Travis Hawley, who's joining us this weekend. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley. Of course, Tom is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management. Travis is the vice president. And it's time for us to talk about something that, Tom, from the moment I met you, you have always stressed. And I so appreciate that you talk about this. I know it resonates with folks week after week, both on the radio show and on the television show. that at the end of the day, success in retirement is not about your lump sum. It's about your income. I would love for us to spend some time today really diving into that. What do you mean that in retirement, it's really about your income and not your lump sum that makes all the difference?
It's a matter of importance. It's a matter of what's strategic. When you are 25, 35, 45, 55, even 60, right up until the day you retire, your income comes from a job, a job. Okay. And that's where your income comes from. And then that's the income, though, that as you make extra when you're out there, then that goes into your lump sum. Your lump sum is like a lumber yard that you're building. That lumber yard allows you to put 2x4s, which is maybe a 401k, or doors and windows, which is a 403b, or a pension plan, and nails and sheetrock and plywood and a big old roof truss over there. All of those things you find them in a lumber yard. What can you do with that lumber yard? What can you do with that lump sum? You can build that into a retirement house that you can live in that will produce foundational in that retirement house. First thing you do when you build a house is build the foundation. You build your income, because when you walk out the door, you are working for yourself, and everything that you put into your lumberyard has to turn in to income flow. So if you don't have a plan, let's talk about that. You're sitting out there, you say, well, I got a pretty big lumberyard. Congratulations. You retire at 65. Congratulations. And you go take a few 2x4s, a few doors, a little money out of everything every single year to get your income. You're okay because you got that big lumberyard. But when you're 75, you walk by that lumber pile and whoa, and you look at it and you think, wow, there's not nearly as much lumber here, money here, as there used to be. Will it last? And you spend those next 10 years or 15 years worrying about, are you going to run out of money? Or there's another way to do it, Kristen. Some of you are out there and you're in your 60s, you've already retired, and you're working with a broker who's just building that lumber yard, and they don't really have a written plan for you so that you can know where your income is coming for the rest of your life. You better blow the bells and whistles, because you're probably not doing the things you need to do in your 60s, in those go-go years that you need to be out there going and doing, because you're worried about running out of money in 20 years when you're 85. That's what it means to focus on your income and making sure that you have a guaranteed flow of income for the rest of your life.
And we all know that such a peace of mind can come from knowing that that plan is in place and that you're going to have enough income to last you the rest of your life. I love, Tom, I've heard you say it's that sigh of relief that you hear folks across the table. And Travis, you said that's the thing that you love the most about being a part of this team, is really being able to help provide that kind of peace of mind. So obviously, no two retirement blueprints are alike. Everybody's different. These are customized. There's not a cookie cutter approach. I wanted to go through some of the questions that you ask folks to really help determine how to take the lumber in their lumber yard and turn it into a retirement blueprint that works for them. And I know the first question that you have to address with folks is, what's your time horizon? So talk about that.
Well, the first thing we always have to figure out is, when are we going to be done working? And if you don't know that answer, we don't know that answer. Now, depending on when that retirement age does come, will determine what retirement obstacles you have in front of you. If you decide to retire before 59 and a half, some of your retirement, or all of your retirement accounts in 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, they're not accessible until 59 and a half. So you need to figure out where your income is coming from. You need to understand that with the lump sum, if you're drawing income out of that, there's no plan there. And you need to have a purpose for different parts of your money. If you're looking at your income over the next 3 to 5 years, ideally, you don't want to take a lot of risk with that. But if it's money that you need for 5+ years down the road, that's okay with the market going up and down, because there isn't a short-term purpose for it. So you want to make sure that you have a plan in place so that different parts of your money have a different purpose to get you through the obstacles of retirement.
So important to know that time horizon. And that is challenging. I know a lot of folks, when they come to meet with you, they might not necessarily know when they want to retire. How often does that happen?
But it happens a lot. I mean, the most popular question we get is, can I retire?
Mm-hmm.
And that means, do we have enough money to retire? And that means if we retire, will our money last as long as I do? Or if they're married, will it last as long as we do? And will my surviving spouse, if you are married, will that last as long as they do? So your time horizon, like Travis said, if you retire when you're in your 50s, that's great. You've got the go-go years like crazy. I recently had a guy came in and he was a little offended at me because he wanted to retire at 54 years of age. He had $3.8 million. Sounds astronomical, sounds great, but he needed $25,000 a month to sustain what he wanted to do.
Wow.
Because he was retiring in the middle of his go-go years when he needed to go. So the time horizon makes a difference. You know, what time in your life are you going to retire? What time by age are you going to retire? If you retire at 54 years of age, you've got 8 years until you can draw the very minimal Social Security. You've got, like Travis said, you've got 5 years to 59 and a half to when you can draw on your retirement accounts. You've got 11 years until you can get onto Medicare, and healthcare in your 60s is very expensive. So that time horizon is crucial.
Well, that feeds right into the second thing, and you've already alluded to this, is what are your spending requirements? And, you know, I think most people listening would think, yeah, $3.8 million, I can retire on that. But to your point, this person had spending requirements that weren't going to work out with that math.
Well, looking at that, and I always tell people, your retirement wealth is open for interpretation. Now, I always get a funny look when I do say that, but what I mean is it doesn't matter, as Tom said before, how much you have in your lump sum. It's about how much income you have coming in each month. I've sat across the table from people who have $5 million, but they need $30,000 worth of expenses. There's no guarantee that that money's not going to run out. And you have to account for 100% of the spending that you need. You have to look into the future to see what additional expenses may come your way, such as medical. Pre-retiring before 65, you have to figure out how you're going to cover medical insurance until you get to Medicare. So that just alludes back to wanting to have a plan. And if you don't know what you're spending each month, we don't know what you're spending each month. So we're not going to have a target, that we're going to be aiming for unless you have an idea of what that looks like.
But that's what we do with the retirement blueprint. If you're sitting out there and say, well, if I don't know, don't feel like you're alone, because would you say, Travis, half the people that come to see you don't have a budget until they at least get into your conference room and you start talking to them?
I'd probably say it's closer to 70%, maybe.
Right, unless you're an engineer. Now, if you're an engineer out there, you've got that 6 sheets that's all taped together, and you can tell us what's going to happen if you live to 2143, okay? And you've got it all down to the penny what you're going to have. But most people don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger out there if you don't know what your spending retirement requirements are, because that's something we can help you. We can give you a formula. We can give you a sheet that you can work it out. And that's the starting point. That's where we start with everything. When we find out if your income's going to last, you say, well, how do you know if your income's going to last? How much are you spending every month? And then we go back to the lumber yard. How much do you have in the lumber yard? And from there, we can construct the house that'll cover you for the rest of your life.
So important to know all these things. And I know that a lot of folks might be thinking, well, I don't have the answers to these questions, but this is what you do. You're like architects, and you sit down and you help dig for that information to put together a plan that works, always knowing that the plan can be adjusted as needed, especially if this next item that we wanted to talk about, some big hits happen. So talk about some of these big hits that you help folks anticipate for in retirement.
Well, the big hits can be different for everyone, but the most common ones are, what is your mortgage going to look like? If you're able to pay off your house before retirement, that's great. That's not the case for most people. Some people want to buy an RV and they want to travel around the country or take that European vacation that that's been on their bucket list since they were, at a young age. Some people have Parent Plus loans that they need to take care of, want to buy the retirement cabin. The list goes on and on. One of the most popular ones that we do see is home remodels. And I would say that for people planning on remodeling a home, it's good to have probably a 1 to 3, maybe 5-year plan on tackling those projects piece by piece, rather than taking it all as a lump sum out of your retirement up front.
But it's got to be built into the plan. I mean, a lot of you are sitting out there afraid to do something, and maybe it's just you don't want to put out the energy that it takes to remodel your home. But a lot of you are sitting there and you're saying, well, let's put off remodeling. Let's put off remodeling. Well, I got to ask you why you're the one enjoying that house. You're the one that's going to live in that house the rest of your life. As the comedian says, get her done. I mean, get out there, make it happen, get it done. There's some big hits. There's a lot of things that are involved in that, like, has your risk tolerance changed? We run into that a lot of times.
Well, one of the things with risk, if I could compare it to anything, I like to compare it to going to an amusement park or riding a roller coaster.
Mm.
When you're young and you go to Knott's Berry Farm or Six Flags or whatever it may be, you're dying to get on the roller coaster that has a free fall or a loop or quick turns. But as you get older, that roller coaster and that amusement park doesn't seem as fun. In fact, you're probably telling your grandkids, I'll wait for you at the bottom when you get off, but you can't handle that roller coaster. And I'm comparing that to the stock market. As you get closer to retirement, as you get into retirement, that roller coaster becomes less fun. And that's why you need an overall retirement plan to make sure that you aren't going through loops and free falls and quick turns.
And we're talking about income. Your market growth and the bucket that you have in money in the market is going to go up and down. That's what we mean by risk, because your income needs to be secure. You need to do everything because you don't want your income to be fluctuating month to month, up and down. Those are the kind of plans. Those are the kind of things we work with people to say, let's build some secure income, but yet still have money in the bank in the market to your risk level. So if you're wanting one of those, you've got to call in and claim it.
It's all about income, and we know that some of this might be new to you. The good news is it's not new to Tom and Travis and the team of Moseley Wealth Management. This is what they do for folks day in and day out, and they would love to help you build a solid income plan as part of your own complimentary retirement blueprint. That number to call to claim yours is 888-930-5609. We'll be back with more Right on the Money right after this.
Get your retirement right on the money with Tom Moseley. Call 888-930-5609 for your no-cost appointment. 888-930-5609.
Do you know how you'll generate income from your investments along with your Social Security in retirement? In our opinion, it's never too early to start the income planning process for your future. An income plan can help you work towards creating a steady stream of income to support you throughout your retirement years. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Take control today and start income planning for your retirement. Call the team at Moseley Wealth Management so we can help you design a complimentary written income plan to help you live the retirement you've always wanted. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
When it comes to taxes and retirement planning, it can feel like you're playing a game without knowing the rules. Tax laws are complex and they're constantly changing, so how can you be sure you're making the right decisions to minimize your tax burden and maximize your retirement savings? At Moseley Wealth Management, we can help you understand the tax implications of your retirement plan and work towards developing a strategy that works for you. Our experienced advisors stay up to date on the latest tax laws and can help you navigate the complexities of the tax code. Call Tom Moseley and the team at Moseley Wealth Management to see how we can help you develop a tax-efficient retirement plan that is tailored to your unique situation. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Moseley. He is the founder and president of Moseley Wealth Management. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and we also have the vice president of Moseley Wealth Management joining us, Travis Hawley. It's that time of the week where we get to share with you about some upcoming live events. The reality is we know that you want to receive more financial education, and there are some great opportunities coming up throughout all of Southern California where you're going to be able to come and listen to one of the team members from Moseley Wealth Management, meet them in person, and really drill down on some important retirement planning subjects. So what's on the docket coming up?
Hey, we like to get out. We like to spread out all over Southern California, just like our offices are sprinkled all over Southern California. We are in the process right now of securing another office in the Encino, Sherman Oaks area, and that will be our 6th office that we have spread out all over Southern California so we can be close to you. And we also have events, Social Security events, tax events, and retirement master classes, which are a 3-hour overview of everything. We have those classes in your area. Go to our website, Moseley Wealth Management. That's MOSLEY MosleyWealthManagement.com, MosleyWealthManagement.com, and you can find our seminar schedule there, more than just these 2 weeks, but you can find them for the next couple of months. We'd love to meet you at a live event, and we'd love to help you in any way we possibly can.
And we encourage you to go ahead and register for those events. It's so helpful to know who's going to be coming so that the team can have all the resources ready for you. So again, check out the website, MosleyWealthManagement.com. That's MOSLEY wealthmanagement.com. Well, Travis, I'm especially excited to have you joining us this weekend for this next part of our conversation, because I know that you are very passionate about helping folks understand Social Security, the ins and outs. And, I'm still reeling from that story you shared earlier in the show about folks saying, yeah, we've been to so many of these Social Security events and they only spend about 5 minutes on it. You guys get into the weeds, and I know that you are passionate about explaining the ins and the outs of it and how it works. The question that we want to talk about today is, I think, a very valid one. Is it a good idea to go ahead and draw on your 401k or your IRA or whatever lump sum that you've accumulated in your 60s and delay taking Social Security to age 70? Let's talk about that, because that is a very pervasive line of thinking that I've come across a lot in my work as a financial educator as well.
No, absolutely, Kristen. And the thing is with Social Security is everybody has a different time as to when they should turn it on. There's no basic general sense of advice that just goes to everyone. And, there are solid reasons to why you would turn on your Social Security early. The first reason being, if you flat out need the money. We had one lady come in a few years ago and she was $400 short on her income each month, and she was having to eat into her savings. She was already working 2 jobs, was looking for a third, but time and energy wouldn't allowed her to take that on. And she went to a Social Security maximization workshop, and the presenter basically just told her, if you want to maximize your social, delay it till age 70. Well, she was 64 years old and she couldn't afford 6 more years of eating $400 into her savings account. So we advised her to go turn on her social, and she came back a few months later, and instead of being $400 short, she actually had $1,000 extra each month. Now, the second thing that you're looking at is maybe you have a debt load that you need to take care of. Having that extra cash coming in may be a good way for you to be able to take some big chunks and have a game plan to reduce that debt over time. So some people get into these debt situations where you have to come up with a very good game plan in order to take care of that. The third reason being the inflation drag. You've eaten into your savings. You may be putting money on your credit card. What might be next? Maybe turning on your Social Security, so that way you're not dipping into your emergency fund or accruing debt right before retirement. Another thing would be health crisis. Sometimes life does happen and medical bills are not cheap and you need to cover those. So that would be a reason to turning on Social Security. Another reason, and the fifth and final one, if you are working, you might not be able to tap into your 401k quite yet. So Social Security could be a reason and a resource there that you could use to help supplement your overall income.
Right.
And I would go back, Kristen and Travis, to the inflation drag, because that inflation drag, a lot of people, you talked about a lot of things being that carbon monoxide where you just don't really feel it.
Sure.
Inflation is that very same way, because you don't feel it until you look at your savings being depleted or your credit card going up. And one way might be to turn on Social Security earlier. That might now, and Travis mentioned the maximization. If you're out there and you're wondering, well, why wouldn't I want to maximize my Social Security? Just like this lady, she would maximize it by waiting until she was 70, but that wasn't the optimal time for her to turn it on. So there's so many solid reasons that could be there for you to turn Social Security on. Don't get me wrong. And that's why, Travis, to your point so well, for all of you who are out there, your Social Security, and when is the best time for you to turn your Social Security on is as different as every one of you who's listening to us today, your Social Security number. Because your Social Security number is different than anybody else's, and your situation is different than anybody else's as well.
Absolutely. So we've talked about some of the reasons why someone, for their situation, it might make sense to go ahead and draw Social Security early. Let's talk about some of the reasons why it might make sense for someone to delay their Social Security as long as possible. Because again, for the right person, right situation, that could be the right thing to do.
Right. I mean, you do maximize it by waiting. by waiting and delaying it as long as possible. And the question is it a good idea to draw on that 401k and draw that down a little in your 60s and let that social run as hard as it can until you're 70? Well, you will maximize it. I ran some numbers this week. The most you can make if you turn your Social Security on at age 62, the highest wage earners, $2,710 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If you turn it on at full retirement age, which is 66 to 67, it's $3,822 a month. And then if the biggest number that you can get from Social Security this year is if you're 70 and you've paid in the max, it's $4,873 a month. So it's $2,100 more by allowing it to be maximized. That is a real key. It goes up 0.2% a month. It goes up about 8% per year. So that's a real solid reason to think about it.
Absolutely. And again, talk about some of the psychological reasons that can come with this. I think that's driving a lot of folks, or at least a lot of the confusion, right, about when to take Social Security. Some folks are wondering if it's still going to be there, if it's going to be there in the same amount for them. So let's talk about that.
Well, there's a battle going on there. Is it still going to be there? I mean, is it going to be reduced by 21% in 2034? If it is, turn it on now and get as much as you can. I believe, and I think, and I hope, and I pray that Congress will do something to continue to pay full benefits. It's not an entitlement program per se, because we've paid into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just the idea that do you really want to go to the 401k? And do you really, once you retire, most people turn that into an IRA. And do you want to make sure that that just keeps coming down, down, down? And you see that thing just shrivel more and more and more. And then you get down to almost nothing, because I've had people who've come to us and they haven't had a good advisor, or they haven't stayed with people. And what's happened is they get to that point and they get their IRA down to zero, and then they are on a fixed income. So the psychological reasons, as you see that same thing going dry, that IRA going dry, that could be a real reason. If you're not very careful, if you're not really careful, you need to make sure it doesn't dry down to nothing.
And, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier in the show. We were talking about how, especially for married couples, they need to consider this Social Security question very carefully, because that could impact the spouse who outlives the other spouse. You talk about it being the breadwinner portion of Social Security. So talk a little bit about that, because that really does impact this decision.
Well, for those of you out there wondering what the breadwinner is the person in the household that makes the most money. And if they've made the most money over the course of their career, they have paid more into Social Security. So they will therefore get a higher Social Security benefit. Now, when one of the spouses passes, the lower Social Security, regardless of whose it is, will not be there anymore. So some people are forced into the position of relying on the higher earning, the breadwinner's benefit being as high as it can be. So that would be one reason as to why people might delay it until 70, not because they can't access the money, but because they have to. And we always encourage people that we not only want to take care of both of your income, but the surviving spouse's income after they're gone as well.
Mm-hmm.
So taking advantage of the breadwinner benefit is very important, especially for long-term planning with Social Security.
Absolutely. Because of course, unfortunately, when a spouse passes away, you're going to lose one of those checks. You get to keep the higher of the two, but it just speaks to how we say on the show all the time, how you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others.
Or it doesn't affect you, it affects your spouse, your surviving
Right.
spouse. So that breadwinner is a really big decision for you who are married. And if you're single, but you were married, there are options you have off of an ex-husband or an ex-wife's Social Security as well. So this is where you need to get some help. All of our advisors are trained by the National Social Security Advisors Administration, and we take a 19-segment course to keep up to date and to train. We have to pass a test on it that we're not with the Social Security Administration, but we know what we're talking about, and we're able to help you make that decision. Draw on the 401k and let that Social Security ride to 70, or what decision do you make?
And it's always important to point out, if you go to the Social Security Administration, they can give you information, but they are not allowed to give you individual personalized advice. The only way you can get that is by working with someone like the team of 𝗂𝗠ly Wealth Management, and they would love to help and serve you with this area and all other aspects of your financial plan. So again, that number to call to get your complimentary retirement blueprint is 888-930-5609. When we come back, it's that time of the week where we're going to be answering our listener questions. Who knows, we might be answering one of yours. Stay with us. More after this.
Social Security is easy, right? The question is, should I take it now or later? Well, there are dozens and dozens of ways to take Social Security if you're single, and even more if you're married. This one-time decision can also affect how much you pay in taxes, how much you receive in lifetime payouts for you and possibly your spouse. Build your Social Security benefits into a retirement income plan with all of your assets. 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley and Travis Hawley. We hope that you've been enjoying today's show so far, and it's that time of the week where we get to answer your questions. Now, all of these questions have come in recently, either from listeners listening to the radio show who have emailed in, or from folks who've been meeting in the offices of 𝗂𝗂ly Wealth Management, and we always change the names to protect privacy. But if you have a question that you would like for us to answer for you here on the radio show, we invite you to email in. You can use the address info@mosleywealthmanagement.com. Again, that's info@mosleywealthmanagement.com. Our first question this week comes from Silas in Vista. Silas says, I am 71 years old and on Medicare. I do not have a health savings account. My wife is 63 years old, not on Medicare, but she does have an HSA where she contributes $3,650 per year. If she contributes $7,300 for the family, can I draw upon that for my medical expenses?
Good question, Silas. Probably your wife, if she's like most of the people that I see who come in and they have a health savings account, they were provided that or encouraged to get into that through work, because it's usually a perk that the company doesn't necessarily offer, but they make you aware of, and maybe they even have a mechanism for you to set that up. And you can, as a single person, put $3,650 per year into that if you're over 50. And if you're married, you can put $7,300 for the entire family. Now, here's the good news for you, Silas. Your wife does not have to put the extra $3,650 in, because, as I understand the rules of health savings accounts, you can draw on your spouse's health savings account. So if they've amassed a certain amount of money, and what a lot of companies do is they'll actually match you dollar for dollar or match you a certain way as you're getting that health savings account built up. And that will be built up and it will be there for use for medical expenses. And you can use it for yourself. You can use it for yourself or a spouse. You can use it for a children, as long as those people that are children are dependent on your income tax. There are all kinds of ways that you can access it and use it. So the good news for you, Silas, in Vista, is you can access the money that she already has in her health savings account. So I want you to be really nice to her. And if she's really nice to you and she's thinking long term, she can put the $7,300 a year into it and really maximize that out through the years.
And no doubt take advantage of the tax benefits that come with it, right?
Correct. Absolutely. I mean, tax-free, tax advantaged, put that away. I mean, those things are always great.
Absolutely. Well, next up, we have Marin in Santa Monica. Marin says, I'm looking to help my mom, who is 55 years old, with no retirement savings, get something started. With a limited time to invest and save, what solution would optimize her investment?
Well, Marin, that's a very loaded question. My first question would be, is your mom working? If she is working, she may have the opportunity to get enrolled in her company plans, whether that be a 401k. Nowadays, Roth 401k options are becoming more popular. If she isn't working, or if her company isn't offering a company plan, then she can look into opening up a traditional IRA. But the better vehicle, depending on what her earned income would be a Roth IRA. Now, a Roth IRA is where you pay the tax up front. Once it's in the Roth IRA, it grows tax-free, never to be taxed again. So if you're looking for long-term retirement savings, if you're a little behind the 8 ball on saving for your retirement, a Roth IRA is the best vehicle out there for you. But overall, Marin, your mom does need a plan, and it's never too late to start saving for retirement, but she does need to start looking at taking advantage of her earned income.
Absolutely.
Kristen, we talked about this a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a lady came in, had been with us for 9 years now, and she hit us when she'd just come through a divorce, had really no marketable skills. She had $38,000 to her name that she survived the divorce with, and we helped her get that 38 invested the right way, get some job training, and that's so many things that we do that we don't get fees for. We get fees off the money that we manage is all. We don't charge for Social Security advice. We don't charge for the tax advice. We don't charge for the income planning advice. We don't charge for doing the risk analysis that we do. We don't charge for doing Medicare for people. We don't charge for referring you out to a trust. There's so many things we don't charge anything for because we are holistic, and everybody wants to talk about that. But we really, sometimes holistic means you get to pay for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But in our situation, we're holistic in that we give you all of those things just strictly for allowing us to be the one that partners with you in managing your money through retirement. Well, the end result of this lady, you remember the story. I know you
Oh,
like
yes.
it every time I talk about it.
Yeah.
This lady now has $1.2 million. She's 10 years from retirement. She wants to work until she's in her 70s. She's just bought a home. She retooled her education so that she has a great job. She's one of the top 3 people in her company. I mean, just a real success story.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marin, for your mother there in Santa Monica, there's always hope. There's always potential there. And this lady that I'm talking about was only 3 years younger than your mom. So there's all kinds of hope if you just get a plan and dedicate yourself to working toward that plan.
I love that you both have said it's never too late to get started. The key is to start, though. And this is, again, why we offer week after week the complimentary retirement blueprint, complimentary to our radio listeners. And so, again, that number to call is 888-930-5609, and you can get started on yours, or in this case, for a loved one as well. Well, moving on, we have Asher in San Diego. Asher said, I love the show because every time I listen, I feel like I learn something valuable. Thank you, Asher. That's our hope and our desire each and every week. Asher says, you often talk about Roth IRAs. What kind of investments can I use inside a Roth IRA? Is it like a 529 or even my 401k where my options are controlled or limited? That's a great question.
Asher, that is a great question, and we appreciate you watching the show. We hope you're enjoying the surf down in San Diego. I know the rain has been pretty consistent down there, but on the days that it's not there, the water is beautiful. When you're looking at a Roth IRA, you are not handcuffed by any limitations as far as what you can invest in. The Roth IRA is just the vehicle, and that's telling us what sort of tax implications are on the account, but you do have the opportunity to invest in anything that you want to. So unlike 401ks, 529 plans where you get a list of those 10, 15, maybe 20 mutual funds that you have the opportunity to get into, when you start a Roth IRA, you do have a lot more flexibility on what you can get in.
And I think that's so important for folks to realize is that it's about having more choice and control with your money, right? And when you are able to open up something like that, for example, in working with your team, you all are independent. That means that you have every single type of investment and opportunity available to offer your clients.
Absolutely. Like we say, we do start with a blank sheet of paper, and we find out where you are. And the first thing we ask is, what's the major reason you want to meet with us? Because it's all about you. I had some people in a couple of weeks ago, and they were telling me what they had. And as they walked through what they had in their portfolio at this time, I said, why? We always ask, why do you have this? And they had no earthly idea. They
Mhm.
kept saying, well, my advisor says he likes to use this, and my advisor says he likes to do this, and my advisor says he likes to do this. Well, let me tell you something. That advisor's not your advisor. That advisor's his own advisor. He's
Mhm.
doing what's in his best interest. You need somebody who's going to do what's in your best interest. Start with a blank sheet of paper and say, what's your concern? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? Now, what do you have? And what are your plans? What's your future look like? And let's build that together. That's what a retirement blueprint means. It means you don't go build a house, or you don't go build a head. The architect doesn't build a house and say, hey, come look, it's a surprise. I want to show it to you.
Yeah.
The architect sits down with you and says, what do you need here? What do you want here? What
Mhm.
do you want this to look like? And they build it from there.
And I love that your job really is to help folks figure out what they can do. You're not going to have anyone come in and be like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's working with what's in the lumber yard and then helping folks figure out how they can make their desires a reality, right?
Well, truthfully, Kristen, and just to interject here, this is a collaborative relationship.
Mhm.
We are not the captain of this ship. We are the navigators. Our job is to tell you the good, bad, and ugly in every decision that is being made in your financial plan. So we're not here to control what happens with your money. We're just here to be a solid resource to tell you what might be right, what might be wrong for your situation.
I've been reading a book, and it's on financial planning. Can you believe a financial planner reads a financial planning book?
Not
But
shocking.
and it's two financial planners, and it says our whole job for many of you out there is just to keep you from hurting yourself, and to
Mm.
keep you from making the wrong decision, to keep you from jumping off the bridge, to keep you from chasing shiny objects, to keep you from making to keep you from making a 4% mistake here, and a 5% mistake here, and a 3% little mistake here, where you do it almost right because you're out there trying to do it all on your own, and you get it almost right. Well, you add up those 3s and 4s and 5s in about 12 different areas and decisions that you need to make, and you're at 36 to 40% of an error you could be making in the income that you've got coming in. You say, where do you get those numbers? The American College for Financial Planning has a course called the Certified Retirement Income Planner.
Mhm.
And one of the courses that's in there talks about all the little errors you can make in a retirement plan if you're doing it on your own. That's what a financial planner can do. That's what a retirement blueprint can do. It can look thoroughly at your income to see where it's coming from, how that lumber yard is going to turn in to a retirement income plan. It's going to take care of inflation and what happens if inflation doesn't go back down. It's going to take care of your investments to make sure you're getting growth, but you've also got some investments that are safe and secure. It'll investigate your taxes and tell you the best way to use your money to save on as much as you can in taxes and healthcare and legacy. All of that is a retirement blueprint. That's what you can claim by calling the number and getting on our schedule. Travis, nice having you on the show today.
It's great to be here, Tom. Kristen, I appreciate you having me as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Tom and Travis, thank you both. What a joy to have this time with you. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us this weekend. Again, that number to call to claim your complimentary retirement blueprint is 888-930-5609. And the team of Mosley Wealth Management looks forward to meeting you and helping you any way they can. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this weekend. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties, which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial Services.